Hello, dear listeners. It is a Sunday, March 27, 2022, and I'm gathered with Michael here on Skype, and we have before us a new session, and we are approaching the very instance of where Michael has done a whole lot of research, and he has some big surprises for us as far as the Dealey Plaza. Welcome, Michael.
Thank you very much, Brett, for the invitation. Hello out there, dear listeners. Once again, I hope that we have done so many ground research or basic truths or truth and foundation laid that we now can go into the details. And this is, I think, the second to last session where we are just approaching average things, and then we will go into the special things happening on November the 22nd. Okay, so now let's go for session 24. If we believe the mass media, you don't see nothing here, nothing to see here. Please move on. No conspiracy, because Mr. Oswald just was acting alone, of course. Yeah, it's always the same. Yeah, Oswald acted alone. Yeah, sure. You have to believe the authorities. No? It's called argumentum et verecundiam. That means the argument of authority. If there is an authoritative person who says, I'm a doctor, I'm a learned one, I'm a professed, I'm a priest, I'm a politician, I'm a lawyer, I'm whatsoever else, don't care, then it is the truth. It is absolutely futile and wrong argument. And many people claim also it's argumentum ad populum, so what the majority means and thinks and acts is the truth. But according to the Bible, this is quite the opposite, because the population or the majority of the population is always on the broad way leading to destruction. So actually it's just more easy to not follow the mainstream, because the mainstream is running through the broad way. And now we are going into, or we try to offer a program for the few ones of the narrow path. And this is here the session episode 24 with a smiling sun. The title of that session is Dealey Plaza, 33 degrees and sunny.
Michael, my comment is, never thought about this until you've mentioned it right here. We have 33 degrees, which is a reference to Freemasonry, I take it, with the 33 levels. And also in America and in England and many other places, we have the Fahrenheit. 33 degrees Fahrenheit is actually 1 degree above freezing.
Yes, I know. I looked it up today.
I bet you did.
Yeah. I know that 32 degrees is 0 in Celsius. Yeah, and then you move on. Yeah, sure. But of course, that is just what I wanted to declare or explain, because there is an exoteric meaning and an esoteric meaning. So that means actually that if you approach somebody in the European countries where they have Celsius and you tell them, oh, it's Dealey Plaza, 33 degrees and it's Dealey Plaza, 33 degrees and sunny, they would think, of course, it's a weather report. Yeah, absolutely spot on. But the problem is that in the American speaking countries, they use, or English speaking countries, they use then Fahrenheit over in your place. And so they know that it has something to do with other things. But the degrees are having several meanings, not only two. Yeah, not only one exoteric and one esoteric, but several things, because 33 degrees can mean a grade or a, how to say that, an honorary grade in the Freemasonry, in the Scottish Rite, but also the latitude.
Very interesting, yes.
Yeah, and here you see the so-called equator, yeah, so where everything is equal from north to south. And you can look it up, the explanation of equator. But from that on, you count north and south. And you see here lines of 50 north. 50 north is the latitude where I am located, so to speak. And yeah, 30 degrees north is Houston. Houston also in Texas. 30 degrees also is Cairo in Egypt, and some cities here in China. Yeah. And 33 degrees is, of course, the highest rank in the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry. And that's what is very interesting, because on 33 degrees, be it north here and be it south there are several interesting cities. For example, Beirut, which is the capital city of Lebanon, or Atlanta in Georgia in the United States, which is actually named after the Atlantis, and Atlantis being named after Atlas, the one who is holding, Atlas shrugged, who is holding the world on his shoulders, or bearing the world on his shoulders. That's Atlanta. So even the town of Atlanta has got severe meaning. So I would recommend everybody who is in the mysteries, they will know why Atlanta is called Atlanta. You got other cities on the 33 latitude, 33 degree, which is Casablanca in Morocco, a very famous city in the northern of Africa, famous for that movie of Humphrey Bogart and Ingrid Bergman from 1942, I guess. Then you got Damascus, which is also a capital city of Syria. Then you got Phoenix in Arizona in the United States, and Phoenix being a bird of initiation. And Phoenix being a bird very heavily relying on rebirth and all the things and flames, and we will go into this in a few sessions also. Then you got Baghdad, which is a capital city of Iraq. So it's very interesting that there are some very important cities. For example, Baghdad is located on the 33 latitude north. In latitude south, you got Santiago de Chile, which is, of course, the capital city of Chile. You got Sydney, which is not the capital city of Australia. I'm sorry, but maybe the biggest and, of course, the best known town in Australia. And then you got the Port of Elizabeth, the ruler of the Commonwealth of Nations, where South Africa then decided to move in the Commonwealth again in 1990, and I think it was from Nelson Mandela. Yeah, fighting for liberty on the outside, and then crawling under the blankets of the Commonwealth of Nations, ruled officially by the Queen Elizabeth of Great Britain, then on the esoteric. Yeah. And 33 North passes within half a degree the following major cities: San Diego, California, Phoenix, Arizona, and of course, Dallas, Texas. So Dallas, Texas is on 33 degrees north. And if you have any doubts and say, why is that line not a straight line, but a kind of curved line, it has something to do with the school system telling you that you live on a globe Earth. But at the moment, I don't care about the shape of the Earth, because we got the item here, the assassination of Kennedy and conspiracies in general. So these are the cities located on the 33 degree north, 33 latitude. Okay. The same goes, of course, for Europe, but Europe don't touch the 33 degrees. We are more northern, and so it touches also what I said here, Beirut and Baghdad and all the cities here. Yeah. And latitude 33, interesting enough, if you would like to Google that, of course, there are many mockeries so that you can't find it on the first try, because you will be bombarded with other absolutely unimportant things just to make research more difficult. That's a common thing which they try. For example, Genesis. Yeah, look for Genesis, and most of the times you receive hits of Phil Collins and Mike Rutherford and Tony Banks, but not for the book of the Bible. So it's the same with latitude 33. They have to hide it at all costs. So this is a very famous grade of the Freemasons, 33, with a double-headed eagle and a crown on top. So if you have a 33 degree initiation, you can see yourself as some of the supreme knights or Supreme Freemasons, or the initiated. Yeah, there are several differences in initiation because there are certain grades and or degrees. So therefore, if you think that it ends with 33, you can think of that. Interesting enough, you see here a pyramid, and yeah, 33 means also ordo ab chaos. Yeah, so that is the motto of the high-ranking Freemasons. It's to make an order out of chaos. Yeah, so first to make some new regulations and orders, first you have to create chaos, of course. Yeah. From the book Morals and Dogma by Albert Pike, we read that Lucifer is the light bearer. But the problem is he is not anymore. So you see that it starts with a lie. Lucifer is also not the son of the morning. But the problem in the thing is that Freemasons are a secret society, so you have to earn the next step to your knowledge or initiation or enlightenment or whatsoever you like to call that. But Morals and Dogma being one of the most prominent Freemasonry books. And in this book, it has been depicted here in the hierarchy of the Freemasonry, starting from 1 apprentice to 32 master of the royal secret, because 33 is just an honorary grade or honorary degree. But nevertheless, if you really think that it has nothing to do with the Bible, or what Freemasonry always claim that it has nothing to do with religion, of course, because you got the Prince of the Tabernacle, has nothing to do with religion. Then you have the Knight of the Brazen Serpent, has nothing to do with religion. Yeah? Then you have the Knight Commander of the Temple, has absolutely no effect to religion. Or you have the Royal Ark of Solomon, which has obviously no direct connection to religion, huh? Or the Prince of Jerusalem. Yeah, don't be fooled. Do your own research. Don't believe me or us. Do your own research. Yeah. Also, Winston Churchill being a Freemason. So all the people.
You know what they're doing, Michael, is black is white and white is black. If your, what would you say, your commander tells you so. Huh?
And you see, I was joking around. Of course, it has everything to do with religion. Yeah? Don't get me wrong. Now, people now claim, oh, he said that had nothing to do with religion. No, if I have speaking in another voice, then it is not obviously the truth. So, of course, it has everything to do with religion. You have to have a belief, a faith,
right, but Michael,
in a supreme being. So it is a religious order.
The thing of it is, Michael, if you agree to that, if you say, oh, they're right, oh, it has nothing to do with the religion, let's move on, let's go in, let's see what they got to say. You see, that's what they want. They want you to agree with them. And if you do, well, good luck. Good luck with it. You've fallen right into the trap.
It is a religious order. Yeah, so that is really important to understand.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. All these people are behind closed doors, being initiated, and all the so-called leaders. You don't get President of the United States if you're not in some kind of order. You remember Mr. Kennedy being a Knight of Columbus. So 33 degrees does not mean only a temperature, does not mean only a latitude, but also means a degree or highest degree in the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry. And this is a Club 33, which is out in the open. And it is not by accident that you find here these kind of lighting, because this depicts lighting for a king, in a king's ballroom or so. And then you have the checkered floor. Of course, it's also a synonym or a symbol of Freemasonry. And some other items here. Maybe you catch that with your eye. Okay, so but that's it. Yeah, so there is a Club 33 out in the open. Yeah, and it is from Walt Disney. Just mentioning one very famous or world famous Freemason. Yeah, Walt Disney, who has hidden here his 666 in his own symbol or trademark of his company. And in the background, you see a castle which means that, oh, there is somebody who is reigning, a king or so. Yeah, so Walt Disney Pictures are ruling under the 666, under the sun god, under paganism. And we know that Walt Disney was a high-ranking Freemason. This 33 Club, or Club 33 actually, is located in Disneyland in the United States. So it's out in the open that he was a 33-degree Freemason. Just wanted to show you. And of course, what does he do? He was making money big time. Yeah, he was initiated. He was a Freemason. He had several ties to the industry, of course, and he set up a big company, and they were producing indoctrination for young children. Yeah, Magic Kingdom. Yeah, so they rule 666. Yeah, the word is missing here, okay, yeah, but Disney means 666. Magic Kingdoms. Magi means priest, priestly tribes of the Medos, Medo-Persian. Huh? Yeah, and you see one-eye symbols here, you see horns, yeah, you see artificial intelligence, you see sorcerers, you see castles. Yep. Yeah, this is also esoteric meaning, but this is not the thing that I want to go into. But it's always clear that when we're speaking of Walt Disney, we are speaking of a high-ranking Freemason, which was very, very successful in the United States of America. Yeah? Walt Disney, the Gnostic, Masonic, Rosicrucian, and he was everything else. Yeah, he was not only a Freemason, I bet. He was also member of this, member of that, member of this, member of that, knew him, knew her, etc., 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 etc. Walt Disney is a household name. It's one of the most successful trademarks of all time, maybe. Okay, so let's get back to Dallas. The tallest skyscraper in Dallas is called the Bank of America Plaza. So it has something to do with money, I guess. Yeah. And this skyscraper center has been built in 1985. The Bank of America Plaza, located on the Main Street district, etc. The 32nd tallest skyscraper, 32, okay, very interesting. But more interesting, it has been called the Pickle due to the green LED light that accentuates its silhouette at night. I always insist on being light green or bright green or pale green as the color of witchcraft. And of course, and if you would be a king in Dallas, where would you live or reside? Yeah, you would be in the highest building. Yeah, that's your castle here. But it's just the beginning, because you know that there is another object or several other objects with pyramids in the background. Oh, interesting. Which would be this. The Fountain Place and its, so to speak, sibling. Yeah? So that means that this is also an area where they have pyramids. And of course, it has nothing to do with economy. When somebody would rent a hotel, he would not create such kind of a shape, because first of all, it is very hot under here, but also you lose much of space here. So there is only two possibilities. The worst possibility is that one says, I don't care. Function follows form. Yeah, so we want to have that shape. The second thing is that they said, okay, that we don't care. We will rent that at an extraordinary high price, because there are so many elaborate and wealthy people here in Dallas, the home of the oil industry and tech industry. Texas Instruments for pocket calculators, maybe very famous throughout the entire world. And this has been built on purpose. It is not by random.
Well, especially Texas Instruments was big in the 80s. Very big in the 80s.
Yeah, I had a Texas Instruments and I was very fond of it.
Oh, yep. Sure. I had one too. I actually had one of their first computers.
Oh, okay. It was TI-30 or so. That was a pocket calculator which was very famous here in Japan. Yeah, in the 1980s I was in school, so that
I had the TI-99 4A computer. This is my first computer.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know about them, but I know that we had only the choice between Casio Pocket Calculators and Texas Instruments. These were the two brands I can remember when I was in school.
Yeah, Michael, also, you know, Bank of America, I would imagine you're going to get into that, right? The Bank of America was actually November 1st, 1930, changing their name. They were initially the Bank of Italy in San Francisco. And they changed their name on November 1st, 1930 to Bank of America.
No, I haven't done any research on that.
Oh, yeah, and they're a Jesuit-owned bank. You know that, don't you?
So, yeah, so that is a very good contribution, because I could not go into every nitty-gritty.
Jesuits on the top of Houston, yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is, though, that if you got the biggest or the tallest skyscraper in one city, you see that is a power symbol. Yeah, that's a power symbol, because also it requires a lot of money to build I don't know, 60 story skyscraper in comparison to a 30 stories skyscraper or what else. Yeah, so they don't care for money. When you see all the glass here, when you see the shape here, when you see the losing of space and all the things, it's just for the architecture. And so you can highly estimate that these things were being built by Freemasons. Because if that is not a pyramid on top, which resembles the Egyptian Trinity, then I don't know what it is. It's not fairy tale land here. This is actually in existence. And thanks for Brett for supporting the thing of the Bank of America, Bank of Italy. Yeah, you see that who's the biggest owner of the world? It is, of course, the church. And the church is using and ordering all the orders, be it Catholic, be it Protestant orders. And they only care for money. Yeah. You remember from the last session, you can either serve God or the mammon, and that is mammon serving. That is mammon worship, actually, here. Imagine that thing twice the size, a little bit thinner and so, and now that resembles the same as the Washington Monument, which has also a pyramid on top. And Washington was a Freemason. Everybody knows that. And he was also connected to the Society of Connecticut. Yeah, Connecticus. Yeah, Latin. No?
Cincinnatus, yes.
Cincinnatus, sorry. Yeah, Cincinnatus, yes. So that has everything to do with Freemasonry, had everything to do with mammon, but nothing to do with economy or something else. So these are very interesting buildings in Dallas, but that's not the end. That is just the start. Because when you look for the Dealey Plaza, where at this location here, President Kennedy has been shot fatally in 1963. Then you see two buildings who have been erected in 1985 and 1986. The one is a skyscraper now for the Bank of America Plaza. The other is Fountain Place. And from that point here, from the triple underpass, it is exactly in line with the obelisk in the Dealey Plaza. And from that perspective here, from the triple underpass, also the top of the pyramid is exactly on top of this Texas school book building where allegedly the shooting took place. And you think that is a coincidence? Once again, Dallas has been founded on the basement of Freemasonry. And now you see these buildings here in the city with a big pyramid on top. And it seems here, it looks like an optical illusion that it is actually on top of the Texas School Book Depositorium. And this here, this skyscraper, which of course is a resemblance to Genesis 11, when the builders tried to create a building which could reach heaven. Yeah, this is the tallest building, so this is closest to heaven, and this is of course nothing else but a resemblance of the mammon, or in other words to speak, as an obelisk. Yeah, you see here that obelisk on the Dealey Plaza. Yeah, and it is from that perspective is absolutely spot on. Yeah, these obelisks here in the far distance. Exactly also from that you see the top of the pyramid on the Texas School Book Depositorium. And if you think that is coincidence, I have much more to back that up. So let's start. let's start to do another view. Yeah? You see, this is the main street here. This is the street where John F. Kennedy was riding before he went right on Houston and then left on Elm. Yeah, so that was the city where John F. Kennedy came. And now you see once again, here's the obelisk from that view, and you see here the skyscraper and many other buildings. We will go into this. If you look at Dealey Plaza from above, you will see, oh, there are triple underpass here. You cannot see that very good, but you see three streets. Yeah, you see the Main Street, the Commerce Street, and the Elm Street. Of course, here the parallel is then the Houston Street. And that sounds, that especially looks very strange, doesn't it? Huh? It does not look it had been made by accident or randomly or so, but on purpose, and absolutely correct. Yeah? This depicts 3. Yeah? And 3 has a very interesting resemblance, not only for the pagan trinity itself, but also to Freemasonry. We will not go into the 3 today. We will go into the other things in Dallas, Texas, Dealey. But, sorry, can't you see the resemblance here to pagan gods? If it has been named Neptune or has been named Poseidon, I don't care. It's all derivations, all false names, false idols, images and idols for Satan, actually. Yeah, so this fork here from Neptune is quite nearby the design of the Dealey Plaza. And there's much, much more to come. Because if you look at Dealey Plaza, I have to go in, you see there are some strange things. Yeah? For example, these lights here, street lights, yeah, they are very narrow to the main street, but they are very far away here from the Commerce Street as well as from the Elm Street. And that is very interesting because you see that creates a certain shape or a triangular shape. Yeah. So the mayor or the constructor of Dallas and the Dealey Place or Plaza, they not thought, oh yeah, it would be more efficient to light the highway or light the street so that the drivers have it a little bit more easy. No, that serves also another purpose, because otherwise these pillars here or these street lights here, they would be quite nearby the street, yeah, which we are here on the main street, but not on this. Yeah, you see that this is a highly interesting, not form follows function, but function follows form. Yeah, so that has to function another purpose here. Yeah, it has nothing to do with the street or traffic or something else. Yeah, this here is a complete area of Freemasonry. Of course, here is an obelisk and there is a basin, there's a reflection pool. Of course, what is it other than a Freemason symbology here? So that is also serves that symbology, and there's much more to come. By the way, also Dallas has a river, it's called the Trinity River. Huh? If you think about that, Trinity River, triple underpass, 3 streets, it's always 3. Yep. And you know that the symbol of the pyramid is not restricted to America, because the pyramids originally have been meant to come from Egypt, which I highly doubt. And you see that shape in the intro of our series, so majestically done by our famous website intro specialist, Brett. And this is here incorporated in Science is a New Religion. Yeah, this is absolutely the museum or part of the museum of Louvre in Paris, in France. France once again, Frères Maçons, Freemasonry. Then you got a pyramid. Oh, wait, several pyramids actually. And of course, would not be complete without a reflecting pool, wouldn't it?
Wow, never noticed that.
Yeah, maybe it's also reflection mirror. I don't know. I have not got into this, but you see, this is a reflection here. This is very important. Yeah, male, female also. Yeah, this pyramid, of course, is an erection here of a monument, and this is a reflection here. Okay. And this is from a European country which is totally unknown called Andorra. And I have not seen so many strange triangular or pyramidal shapes for a certain amount of time.
And also in a very modern context.
Yeah, you see, Andorra, La Vella. Everything has to be pyramidal, it seems. I don't know. That is just coincidence, of course. Yeah, but I don't think that this picture is coincidence. Yeah, there were some people who absolutely were fascinated with pyramids. Yes. Yeah. And don't you ever think, just for one moment, that there are not other pyramids in Dallas. And therefore, I invite you to the 21st century reading. We're not using static pictures now. We are now using moving pictures. Yeah. This is the Renaissance Tower. And this, of course, here is Google Street View. So why don't we use the tools of the enemies, huh? So this is the Renaissance Tower here. In Dallas. Okay. Now we switch to the street view. And what do we see here? Now we do it clockwise. What do we see here? Huh? Just move a little bit forward, move a little bit forward, move a little bit more forward, and to the right you see it. Oh, just another pyramid. Huh? Interesting. But what's more interesting is, guess where that pyramid is located? On 1201 Elm Street. That is the very street where John F. Kennedy was killed. And then they have erected a pyramid in 1201. What is the total sum of 12 and 1? It's 13. Yeah. So I find that very interesting when I looked into this, that there is a pyramid located at 1201 Elm Street, or 1200 Elm Street, but actually it's 1201 because it is in the same location of the Renaissance Tower. Yep. And there's much more. Because in Dallas, yeah, you got these two pyramidal shape objects. Yeah, you see that this is the top stone is not missing. Yeah, but these are also related to each other, and this is a whole area. So I would not be surprised if we're within these buildings or nearby these buildings or within the plaza also, if there were not some Freemasonry activities happening. So that is here the Griffin Street. And it's not far away, of course, from the Dealey Plaza. No, it's absolutely not far away. I can create headache in driving down the lanes so that you absolutely know where this is located. But I think that we will spare the time because I want to show you from that perspective. This here is the main street where the mainstream of traffic is floating. This is the main street. And you see that here on the right, you see these two buildings, which I have showed you before. Now we get back to the main street. For the obvious reason, because that main street is the very street that John F. Kennedy drove in his open vehicle in the Lincoln on the day of the assassination. And that is the same route he took towards Elm Street. Yeah, and you can say, okay, so what? That's no big deal, huh? Well, it's a big deal. Because we know that Dallas is a city of Freemasonry. I have shown you several pyramids in the city, and I guess there are much more, and much more Freemasonry symbols. And now we are approaching Main Street. And this is Main Street. And this would be the route that the president would have taken the direct way to the hall where he was supposed to give his speech. But he did not use the main street. Therefore, let's look it up. Yeah, that works. Oh, that's great. Therefore, I show you what his actual route was. He was just driving on the main street, and then out of a sudden, he changed the lane, yeah, and went right here on Houston. What for? Oh, it's very easy if you combine the dots, and therefore we will use also another tool of the enemy, being the Warren Commission. This is an official, or of course a copy, official document, official drawing or photograph of the Dealey Plaza of Dallas in Texas. And the Warren Commission here has in his report, or in her report, they have incorporated that picture. And they have also named and numbered all the buildings here. First is Texas School Book Depository, 2 is Dell Tex Building, 3 is Dallas County Records Building, etc., 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 court building, and so on, and so on, and so forth, and so forth, and so forth. And then you see a very interesting thing, because then you see pergolas, 9, huh? Pergolas. Never heard of a pergola, huh? And then you got, of 10, you got peristyles and reflecting pools. And I said, what? Peristyles? Reflecting pools? I know what a reflecting pool is, but peristyles? Very interesting. So we will ask the etymology online about pergolas. Sounds like Legolas, pergolas. He said the structure for climbing plans from Italian pergola, from Latin pergola, school lecture room, projecting roof, shed both, vine arbor, a word of uncertain origin, perhaps from pergere to come forward. So it is coming from Latin. Interesting. Interesting. There's so much more to think about here. And now we got to the peristyles and the reflecting pools. And I said, peristyles? They don't mention an obelisk here. It's once again like the Washington Monument. No, don't mention obelisk. It's just by accident an obelisk. Yeah, no, it's not by accident. It's on purpose. So they don't mention here that, I know it's hard to see, that very famous Osiris obelisk here on Dealey Plaza. And that is how much further away from the site of the assassination of Kennedy? Huh? Don't know. 200 yards or so? This entire structure here has been built by Freemasons. Because, we will soon find it out, that was the birthplace of Dallas here, where the first house was being manufactured. So this is the birthplace of Dallas. It is not a fancy park for people to relax. It serves a special Freemasonry purpose. And then when the Warren Commission then started their research, shall I in English tell you another hint, which I didn't do in German so far, that the chief of the Warren Commission, Earl Warren, was a 33-degree Freemason. What do you think has a 33-degree Freemason a kind of an interest to clear any matters up in a Freemasonry surrounded place where the American president had been killed? Of course, you won't find any answers there. The guy was a high-ranking Freemason himself. Yeah, so don't come up with the idea that, oh, maybe the Warren Commission was right. Yeah, sure. Yeah, highly initiated guy, and then this murder has happened in a Freemason square or plaza or place or what else. So peristyles. Peristyles I have looked up in etymology online. In architecture, a range or ranges of columns surrounding any place or part. No, that we will do here. So peristyle. This is live. Huh? A range or ranges of columns surrounding any place or part. Columns. To erect columns is forbidden in the Bible, by the way. 1610 from French peristyle, column surrounding a building. From Latin peristylum, from Greek peristylon, columnate around a temple or court. A colonnade around a temple of court, which means that the Warren Commission is handing over very valuable information to us that they say, they claim, and they submit that this peristyle there is either serving a temple or a court. This is so important here at that moment. A colonnade around a temple or court. So that you can assume that either this Dealey Plaza is a temple or a court, or both of them. Perry style. Not by accident, Mr. President Kennedy said on his last speech in Fort Worth, he said, "This is a very dangerous and uncertain world." And that was just hours before he was assassinated. Mike Cochran, the Associated Press reporter in Fort Worth at that time, covered the president's visit to Fort Worth and recalled going back to the newsroom after Kennedy's plane left for Dallas and saying, if that is correct, quote unquote, "Well, guys, we got him out of town safely, didn't we?" Moments later, word came that shots had been fired in Dallas. So it was absolutely clear for many people that Kennedy would be threatened in South America, not in the south of the United States, in Texas, Dallas, and not only in Dallas. Yeah. He also recalled being a pallbearer along with other reporters at Lee Harvey Oswald, the alleged assassin, funeral because there were no mourners. It was just spooky, he said. He said most of the people were police officers, federal agents, and journalists. 5 family members attended, but no mourners. Seems that the broad majority, they have swallowed the pill from the government that the Lee Harvey Oswald was the lone assassin, huh? Seems, yes. Yeah, before we go into this, we will go back to Google Earth in Dallas, Texas, on the mainstream. So this is the exact route that the presidential limousine took in 1963. Of course, some buildings and street designs will be altered. Of course, I give you this, but that's not the big thing. Yeah, that's the big thing. Yeah? Do you know what this is? This is the end of the drive of Kennedy on the mainstream before he went right. So this is the Old Red Courthouse in Dallas. Remember what peristyles means? Columns around a temple or a court. There you got your court. The Old Red. And this is just not only a fancy old building, but it resembles this guy. Yeah? These are wipers. These are things to look like a dragon. Yeah? I may ask you, what kind of justice is being spoken here in that courthouse when there are dragons or wipers on the top of the building? Remember, this is a Freemason place. I will get back to the design here. You can't see them here from that perspective, of course, huh?
That's interesting you mentioned that, Michael. You see these little towers on top of the building. With the cone, similar to kind of like a pyramid or obelisk in itself. These there was a so-called water tower in St. Paul near an area where the university is located, in University of Minnesota is in St. Paul, and it's interesting that little tower. We would always call it the witch's hat, and yeah, it's very, very telling, isn't it? This architecture.
Yeah, and that's just the beginning. Yeah, that is just the beginning here. Where am I? Here am I. That is just the beginning, because on the opposite, yeah, can you see the inscription?
Oh no, what does it say?
Dallas County Criminal Courts. So at the end of the mainstream, Kennedy was surrounded by 2 courts, an old courthouse. By the way, also, I think it was a black guy here who was lynched by a mob, 1800 so, I don't know, cannot recall. And this is for the entire Dallas County, the criminal court. Yeah. So my line of thinking is, we know that there are peristyles, and peristyles has been mentioned, and reflecting pools. This is a reflecting pool, and these are the peristyles. Yes, of course, that these are being buildings or elements of a building resembling courts or temples. Okay. If you then follow the drawing of the Warren Commission, yeah, see, 5 is the old courthouse, 4 is Dallas County Criminal Courts building.
Right.
And 3 is Dallas County Records building. But, and now comes the big but, if you now know that in this Dallas County Records building also there was the police and jail, then I have another idea. Because when Kennedy was leaving the main street, because that would be by far the shortest way and the fastest way to get access to the mart where he was supposed to hold a speech, he went on right and left, and he was surrounded by many buildings, of course with open windows, so that many people could have shot him from that building or these buildings. He would have been far better off to drive straight through the main street, but they didn't. They changed the route. I don't know when, because there are many contradictions around it. They changed the route, so he came from the, let's do it very simple. He came from the main street. He was then being transported from the court and not handed over to the police, which was here in the right spot. But then he went on directly to the Elm Street, you know, where here on that occasion in 1201, there is the pyramid also again. And then he went on to the Elm Street, so that what has something to do with the Houston Street and Elm Street? Well, to me, it's very obvious. If you know that it's all been set up by Freemasons here, then it was so that JFK was approaching a Freemason temple or a court. And if he is then being transported on the main street besides the two courts, it is absolutely clear to every thinking person that it was no coincidence that he was being killed there. Because if he had been killed in a Freemason temple or court, he would have been found guilty right from the start. You don't do an assassination on the scale of an American president by accident. So you have to plan it in advance. And you don't have only to plan in advance the assassination in itself, but it's more important to also plan the cover-up in advance, which is totally fine working until 2022, so almost 60 years later. People are only interested in who shot JFK, huh? Who shot J.R. Ewing, yeah? But not interested in the thing that why did it happen in Dallas on that very Freemasonry park or court and temple. And if peristars means a court or a temple, there you got your court, and there you got your temple. Because the pillar of obelisk is not usual symbol of a court, unless it has something to do with Freemasonry. So when they have transported Kennedy, they found him guilty in advance, because, of course, that was a setup. So they found him guilty in advance. Therefore, he was being transported from the courthouse, passing the symbol of power or symbol of fertility and Osiris, which is also the lord of the underworld. Underworld means when you are dead. Yeah? So Kennedy was sentenced to death by Freemasons, because it is hilarious to think they were not incorporated in this, because it happened at a Freemason place. So please tell me, on all the occasions that during 3 years of reign of John F. Kennedy as American president, tell me how likely it is that it is happening in a Freemason area. They could have poisoned his soup. They couldn't have gotten rid of him during a boat trip. They could have drowned him, they could have shot him in any other place. But why Dallas, Dealey Plaza? So it's absolutely obvious for every logic thinking and with the usually common sense, yeah, that it has to happen there because of the speciality of that place. And if I know, then he passed 2 courts, a criminal court. Of course, that was a setup, which means he was sentenced to death before. And then he passed the police station, of course, because they did not want to sue him. They did not want to have another president. They wanted to shoot him. They wanted to execute him. That had been done in a big city in Texas. Right out in the open, there were hundreds of witnesses around who saw then the killing and the execution of Kennedy. It was an execution. It was not done in secret. It was an execution in the midst of the day, not on 3 o'clock in the morning in a nightclub or so. No, in the bright light of the day. That has several purposes also. So Kennedy was sentenced to death. He passed the courthouse. He went on the Freemason side. He passed the obelisk, so the sign of the Egyptian Trinity, and he passed, so to speak, the Lord of the Underworld. He was sentenced to death. He was not handed over by the police. He just passed by the police, and then he went on to Elm Street. Oh, yeah. Oh, no. He went on to Elm Street. Yeah, that's Elm Street. So this is one of the last views. Here is the X mark of where the shooting allegedly took place of Kennedy. So that was more or less the last sight of your president. And the majority of people who will pass through that underpass and will drive work and so on, they won't care that it has everything to do with Freemasonry. They take it for granted if they've been educated there and raised there. They take it for granted. Like, oh, that's a lovely park. There's a basin. Yeah, of course. This is the birthplace of Dallas being created by Freemasons. Come on. So if he had to die there, it could have happened anywhere. No, it had to die there because, of course, Freemasonry must be involved. That's the absolute condition. You don't take that risk to assassinate an American president if you don't have the backup of mighty organizations. And we know that Freemason also is not the mightiest organization, but on Freemasonry, United States of America have been built. So, peristyles and reflecting pools. Either a temple or a court. And you see, you got court number 1 and you got court number 2. And then he passed the courts and then he got onto the area of the temple because there is an obelisk in this. So peristyles, of course. Yeah, a temple or a court, and that fits absolutely that location here. And there's much more to it, of course. I'm not joking, but this is Lego. Yeah, so people are only busy with the JFK when it comes to the assassination. They don't care about his speech on religion. They don't care about the speech on the monolithic conspiracy. They only care of who shot JFK. Yeah, and you see that even with Lego, people came up with this. And even in that, you see here this reflecting pool. And that the street has a strange shape, which of course does not fit exactly, but yeah, that just want to mention it. Yeah, so people are only busy with the execution of Kennedy. This is a picture here from the 6th floor museum, which once was the Texas School Book Depositorium. So the place is somewhere in here where people, I think, have to pay money to be indoctrinated, because they say that from this location here, there were allegedly 3 shots to the president. Oh, we will go into this assassination very, very, very detailed, I can tell you. But you see, with these courts here, they try to depict when the shots have been fired from that building. Yeah, of course. That seems totally logic that when you are a shooter and the president is approaching you, you don't choose the nearest point to shoot. Yeah, you choose the point when he's going away. But that has also a special purpose. I will tell you in the next session why it had to be, or it had to seem to be that way. So the Sixth Floor Museum. So if you really think that everything which is pointed out until now is fairy tale or just just a mystery or what, it's just a wrong format, just a wrong session for you, because it is impossible to say who shot JFK for quite certain, because they got rid of all the evidence, or most of the evidence. I got special sessions in preparation on that, but you cannot tell for certain. I will show you also the evidence, and I will show you my kind of conclusion. But people are bound to tradition here. Yeah, they are too busy to think for themselves sometimes, or if you know somebody who is just not thinking but just following the mainstream, because it's too hard to think on this for themselves. So people just want to get back to the roots and just want to not have something to do with religion. For example, here's one very famous example. This is a worldwide famous musician of the name of Björn Ulvaeus from the Swedish group ABBA. And he says, quote, "I'm extremely tired of how you should feel respect towards a mass of delusions just because they're called religion." So he wants to exclude religion from his lifestyle. And not by accident, he was a member of a Greek letter society, a forerunner or a youth organization for Freemasons. Yep. Yeah, and this was also one of the first things that he did in his museum. He want to get rid of cash. So these people are all in line, and they think of themselves as enlightened, but yeah, that's what's happening there. So that Freemason does not serve the God of the Bible, obviously, but Lucifer. And yeah, usually you have to get rid of the mainstream information, Dealey Plaza. They won't tell you that it's a Freemason site, although you see there are so many hints for that. Yeah, they don't tell you this. Yeah, they say, but it's just the birthplace of Dallas. It was the location of the assassination. So you get only the information for people who don't want to do any research, it seems. And I can tell you in German it's much more worse than in America. Well, many people claim, oh no, that can't be. So it is impossible to shoot in that short period of time. Even in the 1960s, there were Dr. Josiah Thompson, for example, and many other people. He wrote a book, 6 Seconds in Dallas. Just wanted to mention him. So that is just the average information you get out of Wikipedia. Romanesque revival courthouse. Yeah, for a certain reason, huh? Contributing sites, a white X on the Elm Street marks the spot where Kennedy was fatally shot. Yes, and Mr. Kennedy had also his memorial. Yeah, you see here the old courthouse in the background, I think. So this is his memorial. Yeah, great. A memorial with a cube. Yeah, cube depicting usually 666 Saturn. Yeah, and so that means that this is surrounding artifacts of Mr. Kennedy here. So that is another hint that Satan or a religious item has been in charge with the assassination of Kennedy. And sometimes they agree. They got a Dealey statue, a statue of the founder of the city. Behind the statue is a red granite slab with the 4 bronze bas-relief tables consistent in appearance to the Kennedy marker behind the North Obelisk. So they admit that there is a North Obelisk. It is not hidden here as the Warren Commission with a peristyles and a reflecting pool, but they tell you in American Wikipedia at least that there is a North Obelisk. And therefore you know, oh, Freemason. Yep. But that's just the beginning. The plaza is named for George Bannerman Dealey, a civic leader and early publisher of the Dallas Morning News. I said, wait a minute. The Dallas Morning News? Remember the sessions of Lyndon B. Johnson? Nixon says JFK may drop Johnson in '64. That was the headline on the day of the assassination, where allegedly John F. Kennedy signed an autograph on that very newspaper. And then that newspaper has been edited by George Bannerman Dealey, and he was shot at Dealey Plaza. So this is a Freemason newspaper. You remember when I was citing the weather report, when I was citing that Nixon says JFK may drop Johnson in '64, if that is an verified issue here, I don't know. Everything can be set up, can be manipulated with Photoshop. I don't care. But that is now Morning News is a newspaper also from Freemasons, and very interesting that it has been edited by George Benjamin Dealey, who, yeah, on which plaza, which has been attributed and contributed to him, Kennedy has been shot. So it's all Freemasons, even the news. Of course, Benjamin Dealey was long dead, but can you think when it has been created by Freemasons that they don't have a successor which is also tied to Freemasonry? I find that very likely. Yeah. So once again, this is a diagram of the plaza by the Warren Commission. Yeah? You see the strange shape, and you see the reflecting pool 1 and 2. Aha, interesting. The path used by the motorcade north is almost directly to the left, so this is north. That's very interesting. Yeah? When you conclude north, in the sides of the north, north is where God lives. Yeah. Dealey Plaza is bounded by the south, north, and east sides by tall buildings. And now comes the interesting part. Both the Warren Commission and the House Select Committee on Assassinations concluded Lee Harvey Oswald fired a rifle that killed President Kennedy. Aha. They concluded. What does conclude mean? Conclude means to confute or frustrate an opponent in an argument and end an argument by winning it. So it is about ending an argument by winning it. It is just about the winning. So the end justifies the means. You have to confute or frustrate an opponent to win. It has absolutely nothing to do with truth. They concluded. They did not prove. They did not speak the truth. They concluded. The meaning of conclude means to reach a mental determination, to deduce, infer, or determine by reason. But has nothing to do with truth. So there is no truth at the moment. It's just the general conclusion. Yeah, has nothing to do with truth. Nothing to do with truth. And that is also the reason when you go up to the Texas School Book Depository, I hope that I can fetch the important thing here. Come on. Yeah, that's what I wanted. Oh, that's big, that's good. That's book. This is a table here on the alleged building where the elite shooter allegedly shot John F. Kennedy. Yeah, then please read this. If I can get rid of any advertisement. Now it's not that big. Making fun of me, huh? I don't know. I cannot enlarge it. I don't know what's happening. They say that it is a very big solution, 2,900. Okay, then we try another one. So you see here the 6th floor museum. Oh, that's too small to read. Okay, here's an excerpt. Dealey Plaza, Dallas. Yeah. Oh, my, it's so hard these days. It's so hard these days. Okay, next one. Yeah. The Building Gate National, oh, this is not complete. Ah, my. The Atlantic, also not complete. Where is a decent picture of that blade? Yeah, so once again, Dealey Plaza, the first store and the first Fraternal Lodge. So that was the birthplace of Dallas. What I wanted to show you is another thing. Is that plate here? Oh, it's Pinterest. I don't know if that will succeed. No, of course. Advertisements, and more advertisements. Yo, I cannot get access. Can you imagine how many hours I sometimes need for one decent picture? And enhance it. Well, let me read it to you. I'm sorry, I cannot make it here. I know it is somewhere in the script. On November the 22nd, 1963, the building gained national notoriety when Lee Harvey Oswald allegedly shot and killed President John F. Kennedy from the 6th floor window as the presidential motorcade passed that or the site. Allegedly shot. Yeah, so there is no proof. There is no proof. He was shot on the north side. Yeah, sure. Yeah, it is absolutely. If you know what will come up in the next session, then it's absolutely sure why it had to happen there. It could not happen anywhere because that was the birthplace of Dallas and that was the Freemason temple. So it has something to do with the ritual. It is a temple. Yeah, it's a temple. He passed the court and then he passed the police because he was not sentenced to jail. He was not sentenced to a fee. He was not sentenced to get rid of the presidency and hand it over to Lyndon B. Johnson. He was sentenced to death. Therefore, he had to pass the Elm Street. Yeah. Elm Street. Sure. So that is so obvious. If you really see the pictures and the architecture on Elm Street. Yeah. It's so obvious. It's so obvious. And you might think, why is he's using the Elm Street? What's about it? Yeah, you see that, you know, maybe that famous movie, Nightmare on Elm Street, which we have then mentioned in one of the most early sessions here. Nightmare on Elm Street. Yeah, what do you think that it came from? Nightmare on Elm Street. You see, the murder on J.F. Kennedy was way before Nightmare on Elm Street ever appeared on the cinema. Yeah, in 1984. Huh? Interesting. 1984. It was the first issue of that movie. No, it is not in. I cannot find it in English. So I had to go to the German website. And I have to translate it into English because I could not find it in English. I don't know where it is. So this is a German page about trees. And elm means Ulme, so it means a tree. So then we will translate this into English. In mythology, the elm, you remember, the Elm Street, Elm Street, the street where they have trees called elm. In mythology, the elm plays an important role as a symbol of death and mourning, as a dwelling place for fairies and forest spirits, and as a protective tree for farms. The elm is known. Unfortunately, elms are rare today. Elm dieback is taking its toll, leaving only a few old elm trees. Yard trees have always been a part of the farm. A wide-spreading beech, a lime tree that is fragrant and humming in the summer, and a towering elm add that extra something to any courtyard. Especially in Sweden, the elm was a common yard tree. They are considered protective trees and, according to the mythological beliefs, keep evil spirits away. Fairies live in them and they connect the human world with the animal and plant world. Even today, you can find hotels, inns, and farms with the addition to Ulme, which means to the elm, even if the former yard tree no longer exists, as it is of course, Dealey Plaza. The elm as mythology. The elm tree is a tree of mourning. In ancient Greece, the elm was a symbol of sleep, death, and mourning. Its fruits accompanying the dead on their way to the underworld. Remember Osiris, obelisk, yeah, the lord of the underworld, or Satan. Not only Hermes, Greek mythology, who never existed, which would be the equivalent of Mercury in Roman, but also Morpheus, the god of sleep, uses elm powers. The dreams of the people hang on an elm tree at the entrance to the underworld. Through it, Morpheus transmits messages to the world of the living. The elm tree regularly appears in legends and stories as a tree of mourning. Orpheus mourned his lost love under an elm tree, and the nymphs of Greek mythology planted an elm tree for each fallen hero. The English traditionally used elm trees to make coffins. Now you know why it had to happen in the Elm Street. It could not happen on the Commerce Street or the Main Street. It had to happen at the Elm Street, a tree of mourning and of death. And of course, it had to happen, and I will get to that in the next episode, it had to happen for the triple underpass. Why? We have to find that out when we go back to the city of Dallas. And then to Dealey Plaza. Now you see that the assassination took place here. Yeah, this is Dealey Plaza. This is the old courthouse. Yeah, what we have seen with the wyvern, with the dragon on top. Yeah, this is the Memorial Plaza. This is the Saturn Architecture 666. Yeah, etc., 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 etc. Yeah, and this is the Elm Street here. And now this is the part of the Temple of Freemasonry. And then when this is the Elm Street, I will enhance that a bit so that you can read the street name. Yeah, the Elm Street. And he went under the triple underpass. Yeah, where would the car have to drive to get to Parkland Hospital here on the Stamets Freeway? It has to pass the Martyrs Park. What is a martyr? Put to death as punishment for adherence to some religious belief, especially Christianity. Middle English martyren from Old French martyrier and in part from Old English ge martyrian from martyra. Middle English also had a verb martyrize. So put to death as a punishment for adherence to some religious belief. And many people see today John F. Kennedy as a martyr, but no one, or almost no one, I know that there are special, very good, interesting researchers out there who really recognize and realize that it was a religious killing. He had to be killed on Elm Street, the street of death. And if you don't think that has something to do with the Freemasonry thing, well, you have to think again. Yeah? Because I can tell you, and we will go into this extensively, that Abraham Zapruder, who filmed that occasion here from this altitude here.
They have a marker on Google for him even, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Man.
Oh, it's getting really worse, because it is no coincidence that Abraham Zapruder stood there and was exactly spot on to the place where the assassination took place. If you concentrate on that X symbol on the street here, I think that's fair enough. No? You see, Buck. How convenient, huh? Of course, it's another part of an accident happening by accident here, huh? You think so? You really think so? No? This is the X, and here is the Zapruder location. Huh? You think that is an accident? Why do not people question? Why don't people question the fact that Abraham Zapruder was standing there and filming the location spot on? as if he knew before where the assassination would take place. And in Germany, I can tell you that they want to fool us. You can't imagine. You can't imagine. In Germany, they tell you that Abraham Zapruder, who was a civilian from Ukraine, by the way, and a Jew and something else, he was a major cinematograph, so a major filmer, and a bystander when the president was then assassinated in Dallas. But do you know what zufällig means in English? It means by accident. So he was there filming by accident. Yeah, that's how people are being deceived. I don't know what it is. Who witnessed the assassination in Dallas? He unexpectedly captured the shooting in a home movie. This is absolutely untrue. And why I believe that is untrue? For two reasons. First, he had his office in the Dell Tech's building, on, if I remember correctly, on the 4th floor. That would be here. Yeah. So he was located there. He was a local. But the thing is that many people do not know that Abraham Zapruder was a high-ranking Freemason. And you really think that a high-ranking Freemason, when the assassination takes part in a Freemason temple and court on the Elm Street, on the street of death, yeah, then he is accidentally standing right in the spot, yeah, where the president had been shot. You really think so? You really think so? Yeah, so there are several X's. Yeah, this is the X of the last, supposedly last shot. This is the grassy knoll. Yeah, triple underpass, of course. Yeah, and so that was Mr. Zapruder standing. So then that is similar to the line of that plate. Okay, that's facing the street. Okay, and then you see there is the X. Yeah? Compare that with the pavement. Yeah, and compare that with the location of Abraham Zapruder. And then they tell you that a high-ranking Freemason is doing that by accident. My. I think we are approaching interesting territorium at the moment here. That people are really don't see that because they don't get the information. Let's look it up if it depicts Freemasonry on the English Wikipedia. Yeah, Zapruder was a Freemason and an Inspector General 33rd degree of the Scottish Rite.
Huh. Hey.
You can't handle the truth!
Beware of documentaries. 3 shots in the blah, blah, blah. It's also futile information. We know that Mr. Kennedy has died. He has died. He has been assassinated. I think that's so much is sure. But it happened in a Freemason country, in a Freemason town, in a Freemason site, and was filmed by a Freemason. And then the Warren Commission was being set up by Urban, which was a 33rd degree Freemason. How hard can it be? It is so simple. It is so simple. And why they have to lie to you and why they have to describe it the way they do, that will be the part of the upcoming session when we go into the Dealey Plaza ritual. Because that's what it is. Yeah? Elm Street is a mythology name. And you have that obelisk, Dealey Plaza. You have the peristyles from the Warren Commission. You have the court buildings. You have one obelisk. You have a skyscraper. You have the pyramid, which you cannot see here. You have the Texas School Book Depositum. And what is all going on here? I'm trying to get into this in the next session. And then you see that we are thinking about the backgrounds of the assassination, because the backgrounds of the assassination are religious backgrounds. Yeah. Once again, martyra means put to death as punishment for adherence to some religious belief. So the Martyrs Park is not by accident behind the triple underpass. You have the court, you have the police, you have the street of death, you have the underpass for the underworld, and then you approach the Martyrs Park. Now, that's my explanation. Keep it simple. Keep it, please, simple. And so now you know that it's a Freemason side in the Freemason right. And then you think of Lee Harvey Oswald. If you cannot prove that he was a Freemason, it is not likely that he was involved. Huh? People don't ask that question. Was Lee Harvey Oswald a Freemason? There's just only one picture where he's standing and people claim that, oh yeah, it is a Freemason stance. But that's a little bit thin. So if he was not a high-ranking Freemason or a member of a high-ranking order, why should he kill the president? Because it was not done by accident. It was done on purpose. Yeah. One hint is Abraham Zapruder. The second hint is Earl Warren. Both are 33 degrees Freemasons. And remember Lyndon B. Johnson? Yeah, so that's the thing with Dallas, his pyramids, his heritage, his courtyard, his police station, and the Elm Street and the Martyrs Park and Freemasonry. That was just the beginning of the mess, yeah, of a religious mess. And that's why, in my humble opinion, Mr. Kennedy had to die in Dallas in Dealey Plaza. The United States had been found on the basis of Freemasonry, so in the basis of secret societies, on the basis of hidden agendas, on the basis of a monolithic conspiracy, what Kennedy said. And he was a victim of a monolithic conspiracy because they all serve one entity, and this is Satan. In the Bible, it is forbidden to kill. So, of course, when you have a sniper or so, he would choose an anti-Christian place, and this is an anti-Christian place. Yeah, it resembles an obelisk in a reflection pool, and peristyles and many other artifacts here, which I will tell in the next session because it is too much to go into that in one session. And that is the thing that the mainstream media would never allow to spread to the public, and that you won't find in a regular documentary. And this is a thing which is totally obvious if you go into the religious things and you see that all the things are happening outside. If it is wars, if it is assassinations, yeah, these are all things happening on religious purposes and not on political issues. That is very interesting. And very frightening, maybe also to understand that there is a deep state which is not containing the people that maybe Mr. Trump or who else is serving the agenda is been mentioning. Yeah, these people are never been mentioned. These are the real men in black. Yeah, not only the man in darkness, but the man in black. And therefore, from the architecture of only from the Dealey Plaza, you can think of, oh yeah, that is no coincidence that your American president had been killed there. But why he had been killed this way with the shots and what else the Texas Schoolbook Depository has to do with this and many other things surrounding the place, I think I would spare that for the second session on the Dealey Plaza. Once again, you got the X mark on the street, yeah, and I think it is close enough, yeah, and then you look at the stance of Mr. Zapruder, yeah, and then you see really that it is what a coincidence when a 33-degree Freemason is picking up with a home movie camera the assassination of Kennedy. And we will go into the Zapruder movie extensively. I think we need at least 2 sessions about the movie itself. And this movie, I'm absolutely convinced, has been faked. Yeah? Has been faked, altered, and it has not been given away to the public until years after the assassination. I think it was Jim Garrison, who had another name until 1960, I think, and died under mysterious circumstances. I could not find the cause of his death today. And this Jim Garrison, he had made that famous trial on 1968. So it was at least almost 5 years that the public was not aware of the Zapruder movie. And that means that these people, they had much time to make copies and much time to alter evidence. And that's what it makes the question who killed JFK almost impossible, because the evidence is not there. You can guess things for common sense, but the evidence is not here. But one thing they cannot get away with is when you go to the basic things. Where did it happen? And what caused this? And what other people are involved? And then you see out of a sudden Freemasonry everywhere. So much so on the assassination of Kennedy. Let's do it in another session then. And thank you very much for having me. I hope that we could put you some interesting information, and I hope that you will be back on the next upcoming session. Thanks very much. Please don't forget to read the Bible, because this all is maybe very interesting information, but it won't save you in the end. The only thing which will save you in the end is to believe in Jesus Christ, according to John 14:6. I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one gets to the Father but by me. So therefore, on that regard, I hand it over to my beloved brother Brett. Maranatha.
Amen, Michael. That's very well put today. Very, very compelling argument against the powers that be today. And yeah, how that all fits together once you consider what the roots of this United States of America really are. They are, as no doubt, a big Freemasonry puppet show, and it's revolting and disgusting, and yeah, you may as well call it Nightmare on Every Street now, because that's really what we're living in here. And I'll tell you something. When I was confronted with the real truth behind all the lies at a funeral for a young man who committed suicide that I grew up with in a church, in a Lutheran church, and I was close with their family. God opened my eyes at that moment, and it was so incredibly painful, because at that moment I realized that everything I've been told in school, everything that I've been told in church, all together was false. And that what I was learning at the time about the Jesuit order was almost too evil to comprehend. And that's what we're faced with. Doesn't matter where you live, doesn't matter which country you live in, doesn't matter what leadership is convincing you one way or the other what you want to believe or what you want to question. The fact of the matter is that Satan is behind all of this. And he runs the institutions now, all of them. They've all been infiltrated. I think that the JFK assassination, the more Michael is bringing these points to the table, the more it seems that this is a global nightmare that we live in today. And it has all been orchestrated so that we're going to be very weak by the time we come to the conclusion of who is behind it, because it's absolutely stunning, and it leaves one speechless, because you don't know what to do other than praise Almighty God for revealing us the truth. We finally know. And you know, it's his glory that does it all. It's not anything to do with us. It's by his mercy that we can even see anything like this. So I'm rather speechless, Michael. And that's the nature of this wicked nation of the United States of America. Is you know, we might think that we had a humble beginning but it's this disastrous end that we've come to. And we keep seeing, or at least to the best of my ability, I keep seeing innocent and righteous people lose their faith because they just can't handle all of the lies. And that's not always the case, but there are a lot of people that have given up. And they've been giving up because they're just surrounded by evil constantly, nonstop. In these, what can we say, Sodom and Gomorrah, everywhere, every city, Babylon, definition, a place of luxury and wickedness, not a place for us to live. Move out of Babylon, my brethren, please. Just do it. Do what you need to do. I did years ago. I don't regret it a bit, but I still feel I'm here. I'm still in Babylon. And I'm sure you are too. We just have to move on and know that our Redeemer's coming. We got to keep our faith and keep a positive attitude despite all of this. Maranatha.